What if I told you? This car doesn't just move you. It reads you, not your fingerprints, not your key. You! This is the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, and it doesn't try to impress you loudly. It does something far more dangerous. It makes everything else feel like small. Now here's the strange part. The first time you sit inside an S-Class, nothing screams for attention. There's no chaos, no drama, just silence. But not empty silence. Controlled silence. And that's where the story actually begins. Because the S-Class was never built to chase trends. It was built to decide them. Every generation of this car quietly introduced things the entire industry copied years later. Airbags, stability control, advanced driver assists, ambient lighting that changes your mood before you even realize your mood needed changing. But that's not the most impressive thing. The most impressive thing is how invisible its brilliance feels. Think about that. Most luxury cars try to show you how advanced they are. Big numbers, big noise, big claims. The S-Class doesn't need to shout. It whispers. And somehow that whisper feels more powerful than a scream. Now let's talk about comfort. Not soft seats, not massage functions. Real comfort. The kind where your shoulders drop without you noticing, where traffic feels slower, where stress feels delayed. Mercedes engineers obsessed over tiny details you will never consciously notice. How the door closes, how the suspension reacts to a pothole before you feel it, how the cabin filters outside. Noise so precisely that even your thoughts feel clearer. And here's something people rarely talk about. The S-Class doesn't just isolate you from the world, it reorganizes it. When you drive it, other cars suddenly feel aggressive, loud, unrefined. You start to understand something uncomfortable. Luxury isn't about showing off. It's about removing friction from life. But wait, because this car hides another personality. Under that calm exterior, there's authority. Press the accelerator, and the S-Class doesn't leap like a sports car. It surges, smooth, effortless, like power that doesn't need permission. And that's intentional. Mercedes didn't design this car to feel fast. They designed it to feel unstoppable. There's a difference. One excites you, the other reassures you. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. The S-Class is often driven by people who never touched the steering wheel. Think about that. World leaders, CEOs, diplomats, people whose decisions shape countries. Why this car? Because it represents something deeper than transportation. It represents control. Inside an S-Class, you feel insulated but not disconnected, protected but not isolated, in charge without appearing loud. And the technology, oh, the technology. But I won't list it. Instead, imagine this, a car that adjusts itself based on how you drive, based on how you sit, based on how tired you might be. A car that anticipates. It doesn't just respond. That's a subtle but powerful shift. Most cars wait for your command. The S-Class predicts it. And that prediction creates trust. Now let's talk design for a second, not the shape. The philosophy. The S-Class never looks desperate to be modern. It evolves slowly, carefully, like a tailored suit that gets refined, not reinvented. Because real confidence doesn't need redesign every year. And here's something people only understand after owning one. The S-Class ages well, not just physically, emotionally. You don't get bored of it. You grow into it. It feels smarter over time, calmer over time, almost like it adapts to your stage of life. Now, I want you to think about something. Why do competitors constantly compare themselves to the S-Class? Why is it always the benchmark? Because this car isn't chasing luxury. It defines it. And defining something is much harder than copying it. But here's the twist. Despite all this technology, all this history, all this status, the S-Class never feels complicated. It feels natural. You don't study it. You live with it. And that might be its greatest achievement. Now imagine driving home late at night, city lights passing quietly, the world slowing down. In most cars, you're driving. In the S-Class, you're arriving. Every time, that subtle shift from movement to arrival is what separates it. And yes, there are faster cars. There are louder cars. There are more aggressive cars. But very few cars make you feel elevated. The S-Class does, not because it demands attention, but because it commands respect. And maybe that's why, for decades, it has remained at the top. Not flashy, not desperate, just quietly superior. So here's the real question. Is the S-Class the most exciting car ever made? Maybe not. But is it the most complete expression of automotive intelligence and comfort ever created? That's harder to argue against. Because when a car disappears into your life this smoothly, When it reduces stress instead of increasing it. When it makes every journey feel intentional, that's not transportation, that's mastery. And once you experience that level of refinement, everything else feels like compromise. That's the quiet power of the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. And now you understand why it doesn't chase the world. The world quietly follows it.